Hey there, quick little video for you tonight. We got Spyderco Reveal 16 coming out a couple days ago. It's a pretty basic reveal. Knives are coming out in 3 to 6 months. No, there's a couple big surprises in here, mostly just iterations on existing models, but there's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of things that I think people will like, and that a lot of great users in here, so let's get right into it. Starting off here, we have two that are surely going to be crowd favorites, the Para 3 Salt. I'm not the biggest fan of the Para 3 personally. I wish they thinned down the blade stock. I personally don't have that much use for blade stock this thick on a knife this thin, but lots of people love the Para 3, find it to be a really good, harder use EDC, and this Magna Cut version is going to be a great seller. You got the textured G10 that you bring over from the Caribbean and the Salt series in general. Magna Cut, great steel, everybody knows about it by this point. Solid option, will likely sell quite well. And the Sage 5 finally getting a Magna Cut version in their lightweight Salt series. Sage 5, I prefer the Native to the Sage personally, but if you want something that has that similar form factor to the Native, something that's a little thinner, little lighter, right around that 3-inch mark, the Sage 5, especially in this lightweight version, is a great EDC option. And Magna Cut is a great steel for it. Lots of people are probably going to dye these bright yellow scales, as they tend to do with a lot of these yellow Salt series knives, but it's a solid option. Now we got a bunch more Spy 27 here. The Native 5, the Shaman, the Manix 2XL, the Native Chief, all getting Spy 27 issues, or at least slightly different Spy 27 issues than they had before, particularly for the Native 5 and Native Chief. They had Spy 27 lightweight versions, now we're getting the Spy 27 G10 versions. I love Spy 27 as a steel. Performance-wise, it's very similar to S35VN, which is one of my absolute favorite general use steels or general issue steels, widely available steels. And I find that Spy 27, as you would expect from a steel that is basically an upgraded VG10, is if anything a little easier, actually it's definitely easier to sharpen than S35VN, and I find it gets a really nice toothy, bitey edge. For stuff where I want that edge bite, I tend to get that from Spy 27. It is becoming one of my very favorite steels, and I like the fact that it's unique to Spyderco too. There's a novelty factor to it, and then this teal color is a nice color to use. So Spy 27 is going to be a very good choice for all of these knives here. In particular, it's always nice for me to see more G10 Native 5s. The action on those tends to be really good. I really like the fit and finish on these G10 scales. I do tend to upgrade, and lots of people use aftermarket and upgrade parts on a lot of their Spydercos. These G10 Native 5 scales, I am often plenty happy with those. But these are all solid options. And then we are getting, on the opposite end of things, we are getting an S110V lightweight version of the Native Chief. So we're getting an extremely high edge retention steel on the Native Chief here. This already existed in G10, but now you got that super lightweight Native Chief. The ratios on the Native Chief lightweight are out of control. Looking at it down here, you're getting 4.02 inches of blade for a weight of 3.1 ounces. Not as light as it could be because they are running some pretty heavy liners under here, but still really good ratios, a ton of blade and a ton of edge retention here for not that much pocket size and not that much weight. Continuing forward, I love to see both of these. This ClarkeTheKnife Native 5, to me, could be the best version of the Native 5 when it comes out. The ClarkeTheKnife variant just works really well here. The contours of these scales are going to work really nicely with the softer, sort of more rounded, organic feel that micarta is going to give. And Spyderco uses such great micarta on these ClarkeTheKnife variants. This is going to be a fantastic user Native 5. And similarly, if you want a bigger knife, fantastic user Native Chief here in these scales. And honestly, if you're like me, you'd find that this handle tends to feel a little big. The bit of extra grip that micarta gives you is going to be welcome as well. And by the way, you also get a bit of weight saving compared to G10. If you look at this, it's 4.1 ounces for the Native Chief in G10 and down to 3.7 ounces here for the Native Chief in micarta. So you're also saving about half an ounce, not quite, when you go down to that micarta rather than the G10. Very interesting knife here, the Nan. This is from Paul Alexander, who was the guy behind the Ikuchi and the Ouroboros and the Silver Axe. So he's coming back for another model with Spyderco. This guy here is a very interesting design. It's a double detent knife. I've had those with Surge Knives' beans, his production and mid-tech beans, which similarly were double detent flippers. This is basically a front flipper here, though you can sort of use the spider hole to open it as well, but I'm guessing this will be front flippable. And these either flickable or front flippable double detent knives can be really fun because you still get that detent sensation on the open, but you get the benefit of having a non-locking mechanism, which for legal reasons is just fantastic, and also tends to make the knife a little lighter. And this knife is light, it is slim, this is all titanium. You can see you got detents on both sides here. Super slim, super angular Warncliffy blade of M398. We're seeing a bunch of M398 from Spyderco in this reveal, which is pretty cool. I'm not the hugest fan of M398 in general because it takes all the things I don't like about M390. It makes them even more extreme. You do get more edge retention, but I don't think it needed more edge retention than M390, and it's even. But on a what's basically sort of a letter opener, a super pocketable letter opener, it's if there's a place to use M398, it's in a knife like this. And the ratios on this thing are crazy. You've got 1/10 of an inch thick blade stock. This warty blade is going to be so nice for stuff like package openings, scoring stuff, utility cuts, things like that. This front choil here will make it easy to put your finger in here and get a more secure hold than a double detent or a non-locking knife tends to give you. And this is 3.2 inches of blade for 1.8 ounces. That is wild. So it's going to be hyper pocketable, hyper easy to carry, and based in Italy. Italy's been stepping up their game a bit. The fit and finish of this will probably be pretty solid. UK penknife here. This is not a knife that I have personal experience with yet. It comes from the same line as your Cali 3, Cali 3.5, which are knives that I really want to like. I just, in the variants I've had, I haven't been able to love them. But it's a solid, made in USA slip joint offering. And seeing it at, we'll go through price points after this, but seeing it at the price point they're offering here in Spy 27 is very cool, and this ends up being not just a great slip joint, but a really good value pick. The Rhodey XL here is interesting. So the Rhodey, brief background, came out years ago when the TSA was going to start allowing knives on planes and was designed to fit the specs that TSA had outlined. That regulation never ended up passing, but the Rhodey ended up being another double detent knife, so another non-locking knife, but one that a lot of people just like as a very lightweight, easy to carry knife that also is non-threatening. The XL, still not a big knife. It's XL compared to the original Rhodey, but it's still only 2.74 inches because the first Rhodey was quite small. These are plastic handles, made in Italy, but M398 on the blade. So you've got a very premium steel here. And the ratios on this are about as crazy as on the Nand. This is 2.74 inches of blade for 1.5 ounces of handle. Now it's going to feel a little cheap, it's going to feel a little chintzy, but you've still got a bent over pocket clip there. You've got a great blade with that really interesting sort of opening knot little ball here. I think this will be a great sort of carry around everywhere knife for a lot of people, maybe something to throw in the truck, throw in the car, whatever. It's interesting, especially when they went with such a good steel on this knife. Got a few more of the Chinese made sort of keychain carry slip joints here, not something that I care about all that much. You got another man bug, hawkbills like this, especially a serrated hawkbill. If you want something for like basically like cutting twine and some certain sorts of everyday tasks, a serrated hawkbill can grab into stuff and pull stuff better than just about anything else out there. And honestly, having a little keychain size knife that has a serrated hawkbill, which is great at those tasks but sucks at a lot of other tasks. It's great as like, if you want a secondary knife, a backup knife. This is a cool knife with very specific purposes, kind of like the Dodo was, but this is going to be much easier to deal with than the Dodo, not as expensive, not as big. So cool, not something I'm going to get, but cool to have. Two more variants of the upgraded Tenacious. I'm still not quite sure who's buying these, who would pay the prices that these entail for the level of fit and finish that you get from Chinese Spyderco. And honestly, like on top of that, these knives are relatively heavy. They're just chunky. Like I don't quite get them, but here they are in another finish. And then you've got another bird knife, the Goonie, which honestly I quite like the look of this knife. That recurve there and the way that they did the handle. The bird series is not something that I play in, but this is a cool variant. I would be interested in seeing this sort of blade shape, eventually make its way onto the main lineup. Recurves like this can be super utilitarian. And then at the end here, we do have a bunch of sprint runs in 15V. These two Para 3 variants in G10 and the lightweight version are going to fly off shelves immediately. If you like the Para 3, this is going to be one of the best steals to get the Para 3 in. And then most interestingly, these two here, the Military 2 in 15V, if you want a big knife for, like, say you work at a warehouse or say you work at a job site or something like that, and you want a knife that is big that you can beat the ever-loving snot off and will keep kicking, it's going to be hard to find a better option on the market than a 15V Military 2, especially if you have larger hands. This thing is going to be a monster for just a shit-kicking, do-everything sort of knife. The 15V, a lot of people say that these Spyderco sprint runs are often hype or rarity or something like that. If you've had these 15V knives, the performance you get out of them is basically rivaling Maximate. It's very close to Maximate in my experience in terms of edge retention, while getting a lot more toughness. It is a very impressive steel, heat treated fantastically well. If you like the Military 2, this is an excellent version. I would put it right up there with the S90V version that's out right now as the best steel to get your Military 2 in. But even more than that, we're getting a new Yojimbo 2 in 15V. And this is almost certainly going to be, to me, the best steel yet for the Yojimbo. Yojimbo has relatively thick stock, but it has this crazy thin edge because of this hollow grind. And the combination of insane edge retention and good enough toughness you get from 15V is going to be really nicely suited to the Yojimbo. I'm thinking about giving the Yojimbo another shot. I was not favorable to it in my initial review, but as I've learned to sharpen a little bit better and things like that, I want to see if I can really get more performance out of that blade. And I'm definitely going to be trying to pick up this 15V version. I also really like, with all these 15V versions, that they stone wash the blades. I love Spyderco's stone wash, and I think most of their blades tend to look best in a stone wash. So when I can get a stone wash over a satin finish, that's another plus for me. And on top of that, this brown is just attractive. So all very exciting 15V sprint runs. These Para 3 versions are going to fly off shelves immediately. The Military 2 and Yojimbo might sit around for a little bit longer. We shall see, but they'll probably go pretty quickly as well. You got a breast cancer variant, so their DLC and pink variant. So a portion of those sales goes toward living beyond breast cancer, but on that it's an S30V Yojimbo. Fine. You got a Spy Nano, which is a nano version of the Spy Mito. I was reasonably impressed with this knife when I got it, but that's mostly because I have pretty low expectations. Gonna have very good fit and finish. Interestingly enough, they are once again marketing this as a hollow grind. As you might have seen in a few different reviews, the Spy Mito was marketed as a hollow grind, and it either had the most shallow hollow grind anybody's ever seen, or it was actually a flat grind. They're saying this is hollow again, so let's see what the grind is, but this literally looks like a tiny Spy Mito. Honestly, to my eye, it looks like the ergonomics on this are gonna suck, but who knows. The Spy Mito wasn't a keeper for me, even though I did find the grind in particular to be pretty impressive, and it was a pretty good cutter. This will probably do pretty well. It'll probably sell pretty quickly, but it's a bit of a strange beast to me. And that's it. So just kick it over quickly to some prices here. Let's get over here and go to Spyderco Reveal 16. Prices here. Your Para 3 salts, $206. That's what a para costs these days. which really does show how great a value the Sage 5 Lightweight is. The fact is you're getting a super light knife with very good ergonomics with a Magna Cut blade here for 176 bucks and the fit and finish that Taichung gives you. This is a really good knife, and honestly, this becomes, especially in this Magna Cut version, since Magna Cut is such an easy to care for steel, this becomes a really good suggestion for somebody who just wants one do-everything knife, or somebody who isn't a knife person. Like if you're a knife person, you want to give a knife as a gift to somebody who isn't a knife person. Honestly, this becomes a very strong recommendation at 175 bucks, and with everything it's got to offer, a lot of non-knife people this will be all the knife that they ever need. Your Spy 27 versions, the only thing I don't love about Spy 27 is it does tend to bring the price up just a little bit over your standard S30V and stuff like that. I mean, Shaman prices are ridiculous these days. 270 bucks for the Shaman, give you a break. But honestly, like 200 bucks for the native, fine. 200 bucks for 213 for the native Chief, fine. 191 for S110V on the native Chief lightweight, that's pretty good. The Crew Carter versions are a little more expensive too. I can kind of understand why. The construction's usually just a little bit different. The micarta is a very nice micarta. So I could totally see myself paying $221 for this native 5 because again, I think that this will probably be the best version of the native 5 that you can buy when it comes out, and I've been really falling back in love with the native 5. The NAND here, I can see the pre-order has already sold out. This thing is going to be, I'm sure, in high demand just for the weirdness factor and the visuals of it, but $243 for the quality that Italy's bringing these days for a truly unique design that actually has a reason to exist. I mean, this is kind of your ultimate letter opener, as small, as skinny, as lightweight, as easy to carry, and as legal with that double detent as anything on the entire market. This is an extremely cool knife, especially in M398. I'm really happy to see Spyderco bring back these kind of weird out there designs. And again, Paul Alexander, all of his designs have been weird. The Akuchi is weird. The Ouroboros was weird. The Silverax was weird. This one's weird too, but they're weird in a good way. I would love to see Spyderco keep bringing back more weird. This is going to sell very well. $243, totally fair price for what they're offering. These two here, the UK PK in Spy 27 and the Rhodey XL, are screaming values. These are both sub $100 knives. The UK PK, you're getting a 3-inch slip joint, but a slip joint with a really nice front finger choil, which does, help make this a bit harder use than most slip joints. When you can get your finger in that choil, you can kind of stabilize the blade and stop it from closing. Under $100 for made in the USA, G10 scales, Spy 27 on the blade, that's a phenomenal value. Like if you are in that $100 price range and you're okay with a slip joint, I can't think of many knives on the market that are going to give you a better overall package than that Spy 27 UK PK at $97.50. That is a wild value. And similarly, the Rhodey XL, are there other knives on the market that are bringing you M398 at 86 bucks? I mean, maybe. I'm not following the market as close as I used to, but this just seems, and again, the ratios on this thing are incredible. You're getting tons of blade in a very small, very carryable package. You want a lightweight beater knife, it's only 86 bucks. That's going to be a fantastic purchase choice, a fantastic option. And again, these are just like the Sage 5 up here. If you're at a lower price point, these are going to be really nice options for non-knife people, especially, somebody who maybe their experiences with knives before have been with slip joint knives, have been with non-locking knives, and so if they're familiar with those non-locking knives, seeing both these under 100 bucks, fantastic. Man Bug here, 62 bucks, VG10, but honestly, your steel choice matters less when you got a Hawkbill with serrations. The Hawkbill and the serrations are doing all the work. It's a teeny tiny knife. Japan brings a good level of fit and finish. 62 bucks, it's fine. It's a little keychain thing, and honestly, there will be, not sometime every day, but there will probably be, if you carry this on a keychain or something like that, or carry this in the bottom of a bag, there probably will be a couple times a week where this serrated Hawkbill is going to be just what the doctor ordered. So I could see a lot of people having one of these to have on their person. As I said with these Tenaciouses before, I don't know who's buying these at 170 bucks. There are so many better options as Spyderco has at 170 bucks. I actually like the look, the overall profile of the Tenacious, but these upgraded Tenaciouses taking the fit and finish of Chinese-made Spydercos and jack it up to $170 MSRP just doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, I mean, I haven't tried them in person. It's possible there's something I'm completely missing here, but it just hasn't made sense. And then you got your Chinese-made slip joints here. I don't really care about those though. They're great for some folks, I'm sure. And then your 15V sprint runs. Part of what I love about these 15V sprint runs is these are only like 20 or 30 bucks more expensive than your standard S30V models, or your Para 3 lightweight military and Yojimbo. So you're not even paying that much of a premium for getting a superb steel that is really going to bring out the very best of that knife. These are all going to fly off shelves immediately. It's going to be a fight to get them. You're probably going to have to pay marked up price on the secondary to get your hands on them. But if you do happen to get them, honestly, I think these are going to be the best variants of pretty much all of these knives. You could go either way for me on whether the 10V or the 15V is better for the Para 3. Frankly, I could even say 4V for the Para 3 because they're just kind of beaterish knives. The Military 2 and 15V, this is going to be a killer knife. Same thing for the 15V Yojimbo. I am really going to try to get my hands on this Yojimbo. Let's see whether I can manage to get it. Excuse me. And then you got your Spy Nano here. 236 is totally fine for the level of fit and finish you're going to get. It's just a weird knife. Feels a lot like the Techno 3 actually when I look at it. The overall, especially the handle here, reminds me quite a bit of the Techno 3. Some people are going to love this. It's going to be more of a collector piece than a user, but based on the Spy Mito, it'll be fine as a user. It'll be fun, fidgety, all that. It's just, kind of there. Doesn't have that much of a reason to exist, but hey, at least the grind will be nice and tall, and I'm sure it'll cut real nice behind the edge. So anyway, that concludes Spyderco Reveal 16. Honestly, not a ton of exciting and new here, though the one big new model we got, the NAND, is a very, very cool one. But what we do see across the board is really nice user versions of Spyderco's a lot of Spyderco's most beloved knives. We're getting a lot more Magna Cut, or at least a bit more Magna Cut. We're getting a lot more Spy 27, a bit more Crew Carta, and a lot more 15V. Those are all things worth being excited over. And you've got a bunch of knives in this drop that I think are going to be the best variant of their respective model at the time that they come out. I truly do think that these pages aren't loading, but I think this Native 5 Crew Carta is going to be the best Native 5 that you can buy. I think that the 15V Military and the 15V Yojimbo are going to be the best Military 2 and the best Yojimbo that you can buy. Those in particular, and I'm never unhappy to see more Spy 27 in the mix. So yeah, hopefully you found that fun, entertaining, or a little helpful, something like that. I'm not going to put a timeline on when I'm going to get back to my standard videos, standard reviews, things like that. It may be soon, it may not. A lot of reasons that I'm not doing them right now. We'll see. But just, especially with the election coming up and all that, just a nice little thing to distract everybody, give you a bit of joy for a few minutes here. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what excited you in this reveal. Hope to talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.